We have got a few things to fix in this video. So if you remember in the last one, we actually went ahead and made a whole bunch of mistakes. We did all the programming, and I guess this video, while unexpected, is a great opportunity for me to teach you guys how you can find errors in your code. So I've actually already gone ahead and fixed them, but I will run through with you guys the steps that I've taken. The first thing that I did was, obviously when I was clicking the buttons, nothing was coming up. We will get to these three functions in a moment, so just leave it for now. The first thing that I did was I had a look at button, and with the skill button, I knew that clicking on it wasn't actually doing anything. So what I decided to do was, at each particular section, I would run a debug message. And these worked. That was fine. What was wrong, however, was my if statement. I didn't close it properly in the last video, and so what you guys need to do is make sure that when you open a bracket, and this is very well highlighted in GMS2 now, is when you have an open bracket, you close it. All right, so for our case, we have an open bracket for our for loop, and we need a closed and open bracket for our if statement. Now, unfortunately, in the last video, I didn't have this closed bracket here. And so it was running through all of this extra code without me even noticing. Similarly, with the manager, we need to open and close it. And here, unfortunately, I had an extra bracket, meaning that down here in the else statement, there was nothing for there. On top of that, in the manager, if we go down to here in the step event for the end turn phase, we accidentally had a selected targets equals none. Now, if you have a list or any sort of DS data structure in your GMS2 project, the moment you write a line of code, something like this, where you set it to no one, it actually doesn't delete that particular data structure, but rather it unassigns the name. However, that information is still floating around out there. So this was something that was also hanging my code up and ruining the project. The next thing that I checked to see was making sure that the skill was actually being sent. This created a new problem. So while I was sending skills, unfortunately for me, as you saw before, I didn't have any skill information in. So let's go ahead and one by one fill these three functions in. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check to see if our global selected unit is going to hit and that the cManager skill sent boolean isn't already true. And if it is, or rather if it's false, we're going to set skill sent to true. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to check to see for each of our DS list size, the global targets, right, our selected targets. For each of those, we are going to do something with each and every single one of these. All right, so obviously with UnitSkill, we're going to check to see if they are defending. And if that unit is defending, we're going to change it to false. Very similar to how unit attack works, we're going to do a few things here. Let's go through these three lines. The first thing is we're going to set that unit's incoming damage to the health change of the current selected skill, which is going to be provided by the selected unit. The next thing is we're going to change this state to hurt and of course run the hurt animation. That's it for UnitSkill. Alright, for single target attack and multi-target attack, they're quite simple in that they only provide the targets that we are going to actually hurt with our skills. So let's start with single target attack. This one's fairly simple. All it's going to do is it's going to add a particular unit, one that we pass in from when this function is called, into the global selected targets. Multi-target attack is somewhat similar to it. All we're actually going to do with multi-target attack is we're just going to copy the entire selected targets into global targets, right? So we're cloning our usable targets from our targets list. And that's basically it. That's all of our skills. Okay, so we are here now. We're at the point of no return, or the moment of truth rather. So let's try testing our game. All right, everything seems to work so far. Hopefully nothing breaks. Let's get right down to it. So with those fixes in place, and hopefully I was able to highlight those fixes clearly enough for you, and with the final 3 functions added into our game, let's try canceling out first. Okay, so that still works, which is fine. Let's try our slash. So we can now highlight units. Perfect. Let's click cancel. Great, that works. All right, let's try our slash skill. Hey, so it works. He missed, but it works. Let's try using multi-slash now, and let's see if we can hit our target. There we go. He was able to hit everybody. Everybody took damage, and he lost some SP there, which is good. All right, let's try slash again to see if it works. There we go. He got hit, and he took some damage. All right, so that's it. We are now officially finished with our skill section, which means that the next video we are going to implement our teams and do a little bit of code cleanup, make sure that things work just fine. So that's it for this section. We are done with skills. So hopefully you guys learned something, and I hope that with this extra video here, like I said, it was unplanned, but we learned how we can debug our game and see where things are breaking. So it's a natural part of games dev. And I'm going to close this before I get sick of looking at those characters dancing. We are going to do teams next. Teams will be not such a big thing. We don't need a theory video for that, so we can skip the theory, but we are going to be jumping around between multiple scripts and multiple objects to make sure that things will line up properly. So that's it for me, guys. That's it for this section. We are done with skills, finally. And so if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And of course, I hope that I have been able to inspire you enough to start your game dev journey. And if I have helped in some small way, then please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope to see you in the next one.